Well, um, what does he got to do when he's bored with Mafia Wars? Well, I just finished this mission last night at 20 minutes before it was midnight, so it was almost over with. And I got my 80th ice in London, just barely, on the 10th mission objective. And as you can see, I did get 2 of the loot reward items, but then I got bored. So I thought I would install Windows 98 2nd edition in Oracle VM VirtualBox just to play with it, because I'd been reading that it was a bit of a challenge for some people. So I thought I'd give it a try. So as you can see in my VirtualBox Manager, I've got several virtual machines with a variety of operating systems. There's DOS. This is a BSD based system, kind of an offshoot of FreeBSD. Several Linuxes, a couple of XP versions. Here's OpenBSD, which is a real challenge to use. Memtest 86 Plus, which really is just a memory tester, and we used to use it at Intel when I worked there, validating microprocessors and chipsets. And here's an interesting one: Windows 8. It's a 64-bit version. It's the pre-release preview, and I'm actually going to make a separate video just for that. Okay, so what we need to do is configure a new virtual machine. And the guide pretty much takes you right through. You really can't go wrong unless you don't pay attention to a couple of special steps. So here we'll give it a name, and I'm just going to call it Windows 98 2nd edition. And lots of times as you start typing here, Oracle starts picking up on what you're typing, and it actually fills in these drop downs. You don't have to go select anything. So we'll go next. And memory, they're recommending 64 megabytes of RAM, and I know that'll work. Now here, we're creating the virtual hard disk that the operating system that the guest operating system will reside on. So I'm going to go with the default of 2 gigs, and we'll make it a VDI a file, which is a VirtualBox disk image. There's 4 options here. You can play with those if you want, I guess. And I'm going to make my disk space fixed. And 2 gigabytes is plenty for the image. Okay, so now on my machine here, my computer, there's 2 gigabytes of space that are reserved where this virtual machine will reside. Now, before we actually power it on and start doing anything, I need to do some editing here. I need to go to Settings, and I'll go to Storage, and we'll see that there's the virtual disk that was created. And now I've got this empty disk, which is a CD. You see it's a CD here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to attach itself to my host drive, which is me, my computer, is drive D. And now, when I put a CD in my computer, inside this virtual machine, it has access to that CD and those files that are on it. Now I need, if you remember Windows 98, to install it, you had to start with a boot floppy, which I don't have a floppy on my computer these days. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to install a new controller, and I'm going to make it a floppy. And now that I've got a floppy controller, right, in the real world, you've got cables that run to it, and it goes up to the floppy drive. So now I have to attach a drive to this thing. And there we go, right there. We're going to attach a drive, but instead of being an empty drive, I'm going to make it a floppy that actually has a boot disk in it. And here's the boot disk image. That's taking the place of the plastic and the mylar that might be in my hand. And there we go. Now before I start the virtual machine, I'm going to put the Windows 98 CD in my host machine here in drive D. Okay, it's in. Now I can tell it OK. And you'll see here the primary master, the ID primary master is my 2 gigs of disk space, which would be my C drive. I've got a D drive, which is a CD-ROM, and I've got a floppy. Now we'll go ahead and start the virtual machine. And there it is. We will start the computer. It doesn't really matter with CD-ROM support or without. We'll go ahead and just hit enter. And now it's starting up. It's loading a few things up, and it thinks it's on a floppy drive A right now. And if you see here, it loaded the MSCDEX is the Microsoft CD extensions that allow the operating system to mount the CD as a device. So it mounted it, and it's drive D inside the virtual machine, because up here it says it's detected that drive C does not have a valid FAT or FAT30. So right now inside the virtual machine I got 3 drives. I've got the floppy, which is A. I've got the hard drive, which is C, which in reality is just 2 gigs of space on my machine. And then I've got the D, which is the CD-ROM. So now that we're at the A prompt, we've got to partition that brand new hard drive, the whole 2 gigger that we bought down at Radio Shack the other day. So we will go ahead and partition it. Oh, I got to be in the window, sorry. And yeah, we'll enable large disk support. And now we have choices. Well, all we want to do is create the DOS partition, so we'll do 1. And you have to have a primary partition before you can have any of the others, so we'll have that. And we'll use the maximum size allowable. And that's it. Now it tells us that we must restart our system for the changes to take effect. And what we have to do is allow that to happen. So we're going to hit escape to get out of the partitioning tool. Then we will go to our virtual machine menu here, and we will tell it to reset. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Oh man, what happened here? Sorry. Okay, we will tell the virtual machine to reset, almost like we were pressing the power key on a real machine. And it's going to reboot. Now it wants. Now we have to make sure we have CD-ROM support, because in this go around we're going to be mounting the CD-ROM and starting the install of Windows. So there we go. It's loading the device drivers again. Okay, notice that the display is a little different. It's no longer telling us that the C drive isn't partitioned. And this time, instead of the CD-ROM being D, it actually made a RAM drive and loaded some tools up in there, and that's D. So then the CD-ROM, as you can see here now, is drive E. Okay, so now that we've got the disk partitioned, we have to format it. And so we will format it as a system disk so that system boot files get copied into the boot sector of the hard drive. So that's just simply format C with the S switch to make it a system disk. Everything's going to be lost. Yeah, we know that. Proceed, yes. There it is. It's done. We really don't need a volume for the disk. And now it's done. So now we've got the C drive partitioned and system formatted. Now remember, our CD-ROM inside the virtual machine is letter E. So we'll now go to our drive E. And if we do a directory, we'll see this is that's what the CD-ROM looks like. But we can't just start with the word setup, because what's the problem here is Windows 98 was the first operating system with full support for ACPI. And ACPI is Advanced Configuration and Power Interface, which is the power management specification that enables the operating system to control the amount of power that's given to each device attached to the computer and basically shut it off when it doesn't need any more power. So what we'll have to do is we can't just type setup, because it will error out here inside the virtual machine. What we have to do is we have to force it into the ACPI mode. So we'll do setup space, and then we'll put a /P, which means there's more options coming after the P. And then the J will give us the ACPI support. Okay, now, there we go. No drive errors. Okay, so now we have the Windows 98 setup GUI, and we'll go ahead and just go through it here. Let me point out, we see down here in the virtual machine window that we've got this, which is really see, it pops up there. That's the 2 gigs of drive space reallocated. Here is the CD, which it says it's on the host drive D, which is my computer to the side of my knees here, and this is the floppy controller with the disk in it that we're going to need for a couple of a couple of boots. So we'll leave it in for now. So we'll go here and we'll continue with the install. And we'll just do a typical install with the most the common stuff. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. I seem to be getting out of the window. Something's not. It's going down to the bottom here. All right. We're going to turn this off. Okay, now let me get in. All right. We don't need anything there. In the United States. We don't really need the startup disk, but we'll let it think it's going to make one, and then we'll cancel out. Okay, so now the setup GUI will continue. Excuse me. Now we'll get back inside the virtual machine. And if you've been around computers for any length of time, like I've been around the x86 architecture since 1988, so that's more than 20 years. Well, how about that? So if you've been around computers for any length of time, you've seen this screen probably dozens of times as you had to keep reinstalling your operating system on various builds that you made. Windows 98 Second Edition was really kind of a really nice advance at the time. Seems to go faster now than it did, 12, 14 years ago. Okay. Now the first go around of the setup GUI is almost done. Now it wants me to restart my computer. Now what I have to do though is, if you remember, I've got a floppy image mounted, right? And it's telling me now to remove floppy disk drives. So what I've got to do is, before I click OK, I'm going to get out of the virtual machine, and I'm going to go down here and tell it to remove the disk from. See, now there's no floppy in the virtual machine anymore. Now we can go back inside setup, and we'll tell it, okay, we removed the floppy, and it's going to reboot. Now there'll be a DOS boot menu, and we want to boot from the hard disk, not from the CD-ROM, because now we have the operating system basically initially installed. The setup GUI will now continue where it left off. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, you have to accept the license. All right. Okay. Now it wants to. It thinks it's done. It's done. Now it's going to reboot. Oh, I'm sorry. Not right now. Okay, I forgot. I've done this for so long, you forget the sequence after a while. So now it's trying to discover devices inside the machine, and it'll load drivers and stuff. Maybe tweak a few configuration files. I'm having trouble with that thing. There we go. Okay, we'll restart. And we want to boot from hard drive again. Now, it's going to continue to configure things on the machine. Okay, nothing to change here. There's some more system settings. By the way, this Oracle VM VirtualBox is really an outstanding piece of software. First, and let me say that because it's open source, they give it away for free. Developers all over the planet probably contribute to it. And it's amazing what you can do. You can load all kinds of operating systems. I even had BOS loaded last week, which is an ancient operating system that no one's ever heard of except maybe my buddy Perry Taylor, who I think he still works at Intel. And BOS really was a unique operating system. The file system, well, first off, it was a journaling file system. And the limitation on the file size was 18,000 petabytes. That's for one file. Now, 18,000 petabytes probably is enough storage space to put everything on planet Earth: images, movies, videos, music, scanned documents, whatever, in one file. That's how robust that OS was. Okay, so now this should be the final go through. Okay. Oh, still a few things to find. Okay. All right, there you have it. Windows 98 is installed in the virtual machine. And what we'll do, once it stabilizes, we'll just reboot it and, and see what happens. Okay, so we want to, we don't want that splash screen every time it comes out. I clicked something by mistake here. I'm having trouble with this mouse. Okay. There, we don't want the splash screen. And we'll close this. And there you have it. So what we'll do now is it's completely installed. So we will shut off the virtual. I don't understand. I didn't have a problem with this mouse the other day. There might be some setting I need to do here. What is that? No, I wonder if I can turn that off. No, I got to figure this out because I wasn't having problems with the mouse before today. You can see I can't get that. There we go. Okay. So now we're gonna I can't get to it still. There. Shut down. And we're going to go ahead and shut down. Now, the virtual machine is off. We will now remove the Windows 98 CD from our host drive. And we're going to start the Windows 98 virtual machine and see what happens. It should just boot straight into the operating system without asking you to go to the hard drive like it was doing before. Okay, there you have it, Windows 98 Second Edition. And I got to figure out what is going on with this mouse, because it's not been doing this before today. Okay.